So let's jump straight into qualifying for the second round of the BOA Endurance League. So this was at Monza in the wet. So let's jump straight into the first corner for our qualifying lap. See how we go. Keep an eye on our delta. As we exit the first corner, we're 2.5 tenths up on our lap. So see if we can keep this lap up. I wasn't very happy with this lap, to be honest. I think there was a good few tenths in there, anywhere between 3 and 5 tenths. You can see coming into this corner, we're 3 tenths up. And then as we come on the exit of this chicane, I shift up a bit too early, don't have the best of lines, and then I drop to only about 1.5 tenths up. That right-hander there, I missed the apex as well. So this just overall wasn't a very good lap. You can see we've gone into the red delta there and then back up to 2 tenths up. So we've lost about 3 tenths through that sector there because we went from 3 tenths up to down on our time. And now we're back up to about 1 tenth up into Ascari here. Very easy to lose the grip on the right-hander part. That green curve, very easy to lose the grip. About 1.5 tenths up, nearly 2 tenths now. So I wasn't very happy with this lap at all, but unfortunately I wasn't able to get another one in with all the sectors together. Just with the wet conditions, it's very hard to be consistent in qualifying, which was really annoying because I felt that I would have done a much better time, maybe like a high 54 or something like that, based on what times I was doing in practice earlier on in the day. But we ended up qualifying P5, 4.5 tenths off of pole. And as I said, I knew there was definitely a good few tenths in that lap. At least 3 tenths, maybe 4. So let's green lights and away we go. Let's see how the race start goes. Not the best of starts, kind of even between most drivers. The Bentley behind's got a flyer of a start though. Into the first corner, I'm going to be early on the brakes, as you can see. Do want to keep out of trouble and don't get involved in any incidents, especially with it being only the first stint. That Ferrari gets tagged by the Bentley, I think, or that's what it looks like. The Bentley took out the Ferrari. So we are now up to P4, but we are 2.5 seconds behind our rival BOA Physics in P3 for the championship. So let's see if we can close that gap up. Now 18 minutes later, we are in P4. We've caught up to this Mercedes and I'm finally into a bit of rhythm now. My times are starting to come down. Everything's sort of up to temperature and the gaps are starting to come down. You can see we've gone up to 5.5 seconds behind Physics. But you look at the delta, it starts going down as we jump to the next lap or a few minutes later as well. You can see that delta keeps coming down, which is really good. So I think we would have been able to certainly close that gap up. Not sure if we would have caught him, but you can see if we jump onto our next lap, I think it was, you can see we're down to 4.9 on Physics. So we were 5.6 on the last lap. Now we're 4.7. So that's really good. We're catching him and I disconnected. Yep. So we've gone from P4 looking at, we were catching our rival in P2 Physics and we disconnected. Was able to rejoin, but because you have to sit in the garage for 2 minutes until it lets you drive out, I lost about 4 or 5 minutes, so a couple laps. So I was only able to get P10 then. Super frustrating considering we were starting to catch Physics there, our rival. It will definitely have changed the championship because I've gone from what could have been a podium to P10. So we lost a ton of points, and because it's only 3 rounds, that could really change the championship, and it could just outright cost us the championship, unfortunately. Let's have a look at Boris's stint though and see what he can do. Green lights and away we go. Starting from P10, the delta says he's P1. The delta hasn't sorted itself out yet. So coming into the first corner, try to stay out of trouble. He's got the Ferrari there. Into the first corner though, the Ferrari's a bit later, hits the back of the Aston Martin there. Into the first corner, Boris is on the outside, which is not where you want to be because you just can't get a very good run out of the corner. But he does make up a position on that Ferrari. Now just in behind this Bentley. Bentley's on the outside through this fast right-hander. There's just absolutely no grip there. And Boris is up another position. So a good start already. Into the second chicane, that the Mercedes, very early on the brakes compared to Boris, but the Mercedes still goes deep into the corner, gets a really bad run, and Boris is up into P7 already. Into the, I think it's the Lesmos, the double right-hander, and then after the first right-hander, into the second one, up ahead, the Mercedes loses it on the exits, into the wall, and if you hit the wall there, you're pretty much race over. So that was a great start for Boris there, up into P6. And now up ahead, I think it was possibly this Aston Martin and Busquets. Either they both went off at the same time, or they had a collision because they were both going slow there. Boris gained a position. Here on the outside of the Aston Martin just ends up T-boning Busquets there, a rival, which was really unfortunate. It was really good for us in the championship because I lost so much points for my disconnect, but it was really a shame to see them get taken out like that, because that will obviously affect their championship as well, because I think Busquets went down to last place there. So 12 minutes in, the Aston Martin getting a good run, Boris drops down to P4. But then a few minutes later, there's this big train of cars that formed from Prawn start in P2 to all the way to P6, the Ferrari. It was the Aston Martin that was in P6. So we've got this big train of cars. You can see the big Bentley in the middle there. You can see the very distinctive lights in the middle of that train. So this was a great battle to watch, but it was costing everyone time. And Boris had already had a little tap in the back going through one of the Lesmos. You can see here just how close this battle was. There was 5 cars all battling for positions here. You can see Boris starting to fall to the back of that pack, unfortunately. I think the Ferrari got a good run on the straight. So Boris was P5. So he made a good decision here to box really early. But it turned out not to be the best decision because he boxed with an hour and 10 minutes left. And our original plan was to box with 45 minutes left. So halfway through the race and then pit for fuel and tyres. But because Boris pitted so early than what we expected, he was nearly at max fuel. So, of course, the car was really heavy and his times weren't very quick. So the undercut doesn't really work, unfortunately, because his times aren't as good with the heavy fuel load. Also, his first stint times were slower than what we did in our stint, but I think that was because he was fighting so much with the other cars in so many battles. Here, this Bentley in front is all over the place. He's got really high ping, so I'm not sure that was possibly what caused it. But Boris got past nice and easy there, thankfully. But you can see now that the fuel has dropped to around about what we were planning on putting in at the pit stop. You can see Boris's times have now really dropped to the mid to low 55s, which is really good. But it did mean that when he was heavy on the fuel and he was doing 56s or high 55s, he was losing time just because the fuel was so heavy on the car, unfortunately. Now into Ascari, the Aston Martin in front of us unfortunately goes flying into the barrier at the exit of Ascari, which puts Boris up into P3 and then into P2. But now with 16 minutes left, Boris makes a smart decision here to let this Ferrari by, similar to what I did with Busquets in the first stint, in the first race of this league. and that allowed that Ferrari to then go and catch the lead Ferrari, so that Boris could then catch them both. But unfortunately, if we look at the results, the Ferrari wasn't able to get past Prawn, but they finished a 10th between them. They were neck and neck going over the line. So Boris got up to P3 from P10 there, so great recovery drive by him there. Let's have a look at the driver standings. So Boris is tied with Prawn for the driver standings there. Now, the team standings have really changed. Unfortunately, we are down to P3 and 16 points off the lead team. Really frustrating. Just with my disconnect, we would have been much higher than that, or certainly not as many points away from that lead team. But it was a good recovery by Boris. It was a good race. We knew we had pace, just unlucky with that disconnect. We've got the final at Zolder. That should be good fun, and hopefully we can recover a bit in the championship. As always, thanks for watching, and see you again next time.